Today I wanted to talk about fibromyalgia and men. Yes, ladies, we do suffer from it, like you do. Yes, just as bad, although you would be shocked at what I read today doing a little bit of research for this. Disclosure, I'm not a doctor, not a therapist, I'm not an expert in fibromyalgia, I'm just a sufferer and a man. Listen, I want to start off with one thing. The websites that are spreading that it's a woman's disease and that it's not often that men actually get it, that hurts men. That hurt me when I was doing my research. I felt crappy more because I was told I had a woman's disease. It is changing now, don't get me wrong, it's changing quite dramatically. I read on a YouTube comment a couple of days ago that apparently the CDC in America has now said it's more of a one-third of statistics, I assume one-third out of two-thirds. One-third is male and the other two-thirds are female. Other websites are bringing it more up to sort of a 40-60 split. But then, of course, we always come back to is it just that the men aren't going to the doctors to complain? What was interesting, though, you can see that I've printed out a lot, and I have gone quite in depth about this subject, but I don't want to go too heavily in depth about it. This video is directed purely at men who suffer from fibromyalgia. This is for you, so that you understand that you're not alone. I know it feels like you are. I felt that I wasn't manly enough to look after my family, that my friends were saying, he's putting it on, it's in his head, and some of the hurtful comments, they were sometimes worse than the actual disease. I'm wearing this and this and this just purely for the mic. I'm hoping that the sound quality is better. I'm also recording on a secondary phone down here. If it's not saying that that'll be any better. So this is bound to mess up the one below. Yeah, okay, right. First thing I printed out was comments from men who have the disease. And I'm not going to read everything, but I will just try and... What did I say? Message from my dad. There you go. Right, okay. Gentleman called Russell Brooks. I'm a 44-year-old man, first diagnosed with fibromyalgia in 1988. My fibromyalgia presents a litany of problems for all of us affected. As a man, the worst thing about it for me has been the criticism I've received for spending so much time in bed. What's wrong with him? Has been a chant for years. Fibromyalgia, they say. What's that? Are there any tests? Surely it's all in his head. Therefore, for me, fibromyalgia has not been accepted as an excuse to be a bedridden man. To all the naysayers, especially those in the medical community, I'd just like to say that at 44 years old, bedridden is not what I want to be. There are entirely too many wonderful activities I'd like to participate in. More often than not, I can't get out of bed. I just can't. Either I'm in too much pain or totally exhausted. So outside of essential activities that I must drag myself to, there are very few other activities I can avail myself of. In many ways, this is not living at all. And I just second that completely. Do you think that we go to bed because we want to? That we don't take part in all these fantastic activities because we don't want to? After suffering seemingly alone for the last 18 years, it appears that things are changing fast. Just the fact that a National Fibromyalgia Association now exists to have given pause to the naysayers. Having the Fibromyalgia Aware magazine on the coffee table seems to have provided further pause. I'm confident that through the NFA's efforts, the exact nature of fibromyalgia will soon be revealed. The markers will be found, and we sufferers will be vindicated. I look forward to being up and around again, operating at the same frenetic pace that it was once my hallmark. He's 44. at the time of writing this, and I am 44. Fibromyalgia symptoms are the antithesis of so many masculine attributes: strength, stamina, etc. Without strength and stamina, it's been my experience that I'm seen of less than a man. I look forward to recapturing my strength and stamina again. That was just one of them. Another one by Pastor Mark Shaver. I wanted to have this article done a week ago. This is life with fibromyalgia. Always running late because of a flare-up in pain that puts you back a day, a week, even a month. Know that one very well. This week I had a wedding to do, which was supposed to be a fun thing, but when you are standing in front of the bride and groom in pain from your legs to your eyebrows, well, it's not much fun. I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia almost a year ago, but have had symptoms of this coming on for about 5 years. It runs in my family. I am almost certain of it. When I look back and see the physical and emotional stresses that my grandparents had, and great-grandparents for that matter, I can see why 2 grandfathers became alcoholics to handle the constant pain. It's not a simple pain either. As if you had stubbed your toe or bumped your head. It's pain that comes and goes without reason or without a way to predict when it happens. Some days I exercise and the next day I feel nothing but fantastic amounts of energy and the emotional lift that a good swim or ride on the mountain bike might give. But like last week, working in the yard, running around with the kiddos, playing Simon Says and red light, green light, and I wake up on Friday feeling as though I've been beaten up in the night with a bar of soap in a pillowcase. I say run over by a lorry. Maybe mine's a little bit worse. Again, he goes into greater detail of his family life. For the most part, I am functional, except for the nagging stiffness that my limbs falling asleep. The bigger pain I deal with during my waking hours is the pain of the emotional turmoil. Why did this happen to me when I was doing the Lord's will? Too many times I think I have spiritualized my sickness, thinking that just because I was a pastor, somehow I was immune to a chronic illness. I would say to myself, I have a mission here, starting a church for Pete's sake. Why would this happen to me and take away some of my ability to lead and work? Woe, woe, woe is me. All this is just whining, however, and it doesn't do any good. And then the wind comes. Of course it does. The one day that I've got all of these documents. He wrote a lot. Sorry, I can't go into more detail. For those of you who are suffering, as I once did, and as I do once in a while, don't be silent. Silence means struggle. Speak up and speak out. Find someone to talk to, even me, so that your journey is full of life and hope and not so much pain and loneliness. This next gentleman, Sidney Mirsky, 60 years old, good health, alert, physically in good shape for his age, nothing organically wrong, all test negative, complains a lot, apostrophe. He's written a lot about everything that he's tried, massage therapists, he's done a lot, nothing worked. I could have drowned my sorrows in food, chocolate and alcohol, but for the fact that irritable bowel syndrome and acid reflux disease ruled that out, bless him. At least I have chocolate occasionally. No alcohol though. Was I depressed? Absolutely not, he says, but my doctor put me onto antidepressants. And the impotence that this induced made me even more depressed. Yeah, felt that before. and also woozy. The situation was becoming intolerable, especially when my doctor smirked. "Oh, you were here again, Sid. What is it this time?" And when I was about to leave after the appointment, he tried to assure me that there was nothing wrong and I'm perfectly healthy, but he could not feel my pain. I really should have highlighted this before. There's a lot to read here. My advice to other fibromyalgics. First time I've heard that. I don't like it. Change your doctor until you find one who treats you as an individual and not an epidemiologic statistic. I know I said that wrong. I'm not even going to show you because I'll just be embarrassed that I couldn't say that. I did say a couple of days ago I couldn't be a doctor, now you can tell. You will be able to adjust to your new reality if you do not treat this as a war. You are not fighting anything. Being angry and ranting and raving about it is like throwing rocks at a fog. That's a good statement. Whatever you do will not make the fog go away. Instead, learn new techniques to move and see through the fog. Learn to be where you are, and remember, for things to change, you must change. Work cooperatively with your medical team to change yourself, your way of living, your attitude towards life, time, and the excuse me. I can't say it. It's gone in my head and it's just not coming out. I'm going to move on. Sorry. Dissolve all perceived artificial boundaries and constraint. Join hands. Oh, come on. Moving on. Yeah, this is one that sort of stood out for me, by Gavin Levy. As young boys growing up, we are taught by society not to cry when we scrape our knee. If we bruised a knee when playing football, we learned how to hold the sensation of the pain on the inside. In England, you'll hear the expression grit and bear it. And this is just what we did. So it can certainly knock a man's ego when you cannot grit and bear it. When the cycle of pain goes on every day, week, month, year, it makes the "if I just ignore it, it will go away" approach seem ridiculous. It is tempting for a man who has fibromyalgia to see himself as inadequate and not manly anymore. I'm not going to put it to you that we are the Iron Men of men, the strongest of the strong, and I'm going to tell you why. If we think about the toughest men in society, we think about those in the mafia or boxers or the Navy SEALs. These men know how to inflict pain on others and endure large amounts of pain themselves. And yet, there is a reprieve from their pain. A boxer has to last the fight and then can recuperate over the next days or weeks. A mobster may inflict a great deal of pain on someone, but this is usually going to happen in an intense period of minutes or perhaps hours. It is only perhaps like the likes of a Navy SEAL who will come close to our league by having the potentially endure the torture of months or even years of pain. This being said, men with fibromyalgia are keeping good company. The difference for many of us is that our pains have been unrelenting, unyielding, uncompromising, ruthless in their execution, and for many of us, a continual daily companion. And yet through it all, we manage to keep on smiling, keep getting back up, and refusing to give up this dream called life. Yes, to those words. I'm 15 years into it now, and it does feel very much like that. Sorry about knocking the camera. That you just get up and you go on. There is no, I'm not going to compare myself against the boxers or the Navy SEALs. Jesus, they are the men of men. But here I am. I'm getting up again. I do every day. I do try to push through it. I push through as hard as I can. Sometimes it's not enough. It's also worth noting that we get no sympathy from those around us because people have no concept of what we're living with. My wife understands, but let's move on. I found that I will get more sympathy from having a common cold than from fibromyalgia. Yes, you all know that statement. Remember, people who can relate to a cold, and they can see a cold, but not the roaring tiger within us. Roaring tiger. Of course, we are all working towards relieving our symptoms sooner rather than later. Only a true man could do that, and with new knowledge comes new hope. Only a man of iron strength could look pain in the eye each day and say, "You will never conquer me, for I am stronger." How many men could deal with the numerous challenges of this complex condition? Perhaps only a certain type of man, a real man. Nicely written. I feel like I've just been reading a novel. But there are definitely some points in there that should be taken seriously. You know, we do get up every day. We do fight the fight. We don't give up. Took me a lot of years to get to that stage, though. And it will you as well, I'm sure. This one was written by Randy Wall, 58, who was an auto mechanic, an excellent golfer, and a bowler who never scored below 200. I don't know what that would be. I've always scored a lot less than that. Nearly 10 years ago, when he was suffering from intense chronic pain, he received a surprise diagnosis. His doctor told him he had fibromyalgia, a disorder that causes chronic pain and fatigue. Fibromyalgia strikes mostly women. Thank you, Mr. Wall. Of the estimated 5 million adults with fibromyalgia in the US, as few as 10% are men. For that reason, the popular perception of it as a woman's disease has persisted, even among fellow patients. When I first went to the support group meeting, it was all women, says Wall, who is now a member of the board of the National Fibromyalgia Association and the only male board member with the disease. Some didn't want me there. A neurologist who Wall consulted wouldn't see him, discounted his diagnosis, and accusing him of angling to get disability payments. That pisses me off. Do they really believe that this is what we want from life? 1/4 of our earning ability, in best cases. It's a tough deal for a man to have fibromyalgia, says Wall, who is no longer able to work and can only occasionally hit the links or the lanes. One of my best friends doesn't believe I have it, he says. His wife, who is a doctor, told him men can't get it and that it's in my head. That kind of hurt. Well, why wouldn't it hurt him? Seriously. It's uncertain what causes fibromyalgia or why so few men suffer from it. Certain types of viral infections, traumas such as car accidents, and emotional stress can trigger it. In some cases, though, it strikes without warning. So again, what a big open blanket statement there, we know that. Whatever the cause, there are certain biological markers that those with a disorder frequently have in common, according to Mohammed B. Yunus, MD, a professor of medicine at the University of Illinois, got there in the end, College of Medicine. Fibromyalgia is characterized by an imbalance of chemicals in the brain. It is a neurochemical disease, says Yunus, who points out that people with fibromyalgia show a higher than average amount of substance P, a neurotransmitter that signals pain, and a lower than average amount of serotonin, a neurotransmitter that inhibits pain. Genetics and hormones, say Yunus, also appear to play a role both in causing the disease and the gender discrepancy associated with it. There are genes that make people more susceptible to pain, and some are related to gender, he says. And women are more susceptible to pain because estrogen reduces the pain threshold. Learning something new every day. The heightened sensitivity to pain may give women higher odds of getting a diagnosis of fibromyalgia. The common test performed is to apply a fixed amount of pressure to what are called the tender points, 18 specific points on the body designed or designated by the American College of Rheumatology, where even a light touch can cause pain. At least 11 of those spots must produce a significant pain response in order to merit a diagnosis. But because men have a higher threshold for pain, they often don't meet the criteria. Women seem literally more tender than men. Thank you, dude. How fibromyalgia affects men. Excuse me one moment. My glass of water is stopping the paper from flying away. I apologise for the cold sore. My in-laws were here last week and there was lots and lots of going out and effort, and I'm obviously down and drained. Always get mouth ulcers and cold sores when that happens. Okay, how fibromyalgia affects men. Chronic pain may be its chief symptom, but fibromyalgia sometimes comes with additional complications. Chronic fatigue and difficulty sleeping are common complaints, as are headaches, irritable bowel syndrome, and restless leg syndrome. Memory problems and difficulty concentrating often come with the territory as well, and I'm also going to add, and problems saying not very complicated words. Whoops. In general, Eunice says, men have fewer symptoms than women. They tend to have less from fatigue, and they have pain in fewer places. It's much less common for men to hurt all over, Eunice says, but in many ways men are more affected, more bothered by fibromyalgia. The reason for that may be more social than biological. Men don't come to the doctor. This is undiagnosed cases. Men don't come to the doctor nearly as much as women. Fibromyalgia expert at Ohio Pain and Rehab Specialist. Fibromyalgia Exchange. Why? Gender stereotypes. And this is where I think the figure is so much lower than what it actually is. I've said that all the way along, but men do not go to the doctor that easily. It took me months, I seem to remember. We're just waiting for the pain to dissipate and for the fatigue to stop and whatnot. So I think there are a lot more men out there that don't know that they have fibromyalgia. They just think, oh, it's aches and pains from getting older and stuff. I've experienced it myself. Chronic pain may... here we go. Men don't come to the doctor nearly as much as women. Men tell themselves, I'm not supposed to go to the doctor, I'm not supposed to complain. So I see a lot of the men I see, their wives make them come. And that's not a sexual reference. Who estimates that up to 20% of men with the disorder are undiagnosed. Add that to the 10% the stat says, that's the 30%. Or add that to the 1/3, that's 33, that would be 50%. Well, you take it however you want to. The longer men put off seeing the doctor, the more they put themselves at risk of developing complications that could affect their work, their hobbies, their relationships. Who has fibromyalgia himself, or Pellegrino, who has it himself. So this doctor has it himself. Says that depression is not uncommon amongst men who have delayed getting a diagnosis. Men with fibromyalgia often feel broken, even suicidal, says Gavin Levy, an Austin, Texas-based writer who was diagnosed with fibromyalgia 4 years ago at the age of 33. We've all been there. It feels like your masculinity has been taken away to a degree. You're a provider, a protector, then suddenly that role is reversed. Jesus, that is so true. The most important thing a man with fibromyalgia can do, Pellegrino emphasizes, is I wonder if this is in focus. If it's not, I apologize. Is to get diagnosed. The sooner that happens, the sooner he can start treatment. Living with fibromyalgia. There is no cure for fibromyalgia. Well, unless you look at some of the other YouTube videos, and then apparently you can in 5 days with having a vegetable liquid diet. Fucking idiots. Not you guys, those people that make the videos. There's no cure, but there are medications that can help curb its symptoms. Equally important, though, are lifestyle changes. Don't know if you can hear the lorry, but it's even irritating me with headphones on. Exercising and eating well are essential, says Eunice, and that I can agree with. with. Since I've started exercising on a semi-daily basis, I feel much better. And if I don't exercise, I feel awful. So, like when I had a cold the other day, I felt lethargic, even more so at home. There is a clear relationship between overweight and pain and fatigue, and if you've seen episode or day 2 of my videos, you can see how overweight I was. Another 22 kilos on top of what I am today. And I certainly feel better since I lost the pounds, lost the kilos. Overweight is a risk factor for fibromyalgia, Eunice says. A recent study linked obesity and a greater chance of having fibromyalgia. So, does that mean that now I've lost the weight, I shouldn't have it? Because I need to write to somebody. That does not mean that everyone with fibromyalgia is overweight, or that extra pounds by themselves cause fibromyalgia. Is that not just a contradiction of what I just read? Anyway. This gentleman, Wall, hits the treadmill for at least 10 to 15 minutes a day. He also does some light weightlifting to keep his strength up and his own weight down. He even gets out on the golf course once in a while, knowing that it will wear him out. When I'm done, it makes me feel better, he says. It reminds me a little of my old life. My old life is still there. Right. Now, the stigma for men. I don't think I'm going to get through all these documents. See those? So I can reach the camera down there. That's loads of stats about one of the biggest surveys done involving that. I will quickly, I'm not going to go through all of them, but I will quickly read a couple of extracts from it. But the stigma for men. More than 800 men with fibromyalgia participated in a survey, either taken online or given through in-person interviews at community health events in Tennessee and the Washington, D.C. area, about how the illness affects them. Nearly all of them reported depression as their top symptom. Well, for me, it's not anymore. It was, but pain is for me. Fibromyalgia has changed my entire life and the lives of my family. Bluntly, it sucks, says a 62-year-old man. The researchers also gathered responses from 120 men who knew someone with fibromyalgia and 238 women who had either fibromyalgia or knew someone who did. 1 in 10 of the respondents expresses that there is a stigma of this illness for men. Says this person, Dainuka Murelitharan, sorry for butchering your name, who conducted the study for the National Non-Profit Men's Health Network. Thank you, by the way, for the information here. We found that really interesting. Nearly 400 people said that social expectations for men led them to have a different experience than women. Men were told they didn't have any condition, but as the illness became worse, its impact couldn't be missed. In all, 92 people said they had lost their jobs because of fibromyalgia, and 82 had it enrolled in the Social Security Disability Insurance Program because they could no longer work. I lost my job. I then tried to work or create my own company and positions, but again, didn't work. Somebody wrote here, 10 years ago, I was a rising star in a major IT company, a father of 4 kids. Today, due to fibromyalgia, I am isolated, living on disability pension, spending nearly all my time moving from one therapy to another, or so tired I cannot function as a human being, a 40-year-old man said. Adjusting work tasks and hours early on could help men keep on the job, the author of a Finnish study observed. But for some patients, the experience of feeling healthy or pain-free might be nothing but a fading memory. I can't remember a life without pain. It upsets me. That's why I've said that comment before about, just one good ass coma. Don't want to die, just a good coma. Nice long sleep. Right, now get to the facts that I was talking about. Understanding the impact of fibromyalgia on men. Findings from a national survey. there's a lot of information here, so you are going to have to be a little bit patient with me, I'm afraid. 1,200 sorry, 1,163 respondents, both online and in person. Okay. Results. You still turned on? You? Good. Right then. God, this is so professional. Aren't you glad that you spent this long listening to me waffle on? Thank you there. Right, results. The mid-year analysis between July 2009 and July 2017 indicated that there were no major changes in responses over time, so the data from the full collection period were analysed as one full sample, which is very interesting, because over an 8-year period not a lot changed. Of the 1,163 survey respondents, the majority were men with fibromyalgia. Those with fibromyalgia reported top symptoms as depression, widespread pain, tender points, and fatigue and sleep disturbances. So let me go back to the figures. The majority were men, 70%. Those with FM reported top symptoms as depression, 97.9%. Probably caused by, obviously, the loss of work and function, but also the negative response they got from doctors and healthcare workers. Widespread pain, tender points. Okay, something's just gone blum. Bear with me for a sec. Modern technology. Somebody needs to let me borrow a vlogging camera, please. I think the recording stops after a certain amount of time, which means I've been waffling on for a long time. But anyway, I will quickly go into it. So it was 77% of the respondents said widespread pain and tender points. That means that 23% of people had no pain. I'm reading that wrong probably. And fatigue and sleep disturbances, 75%. Some respondents expanded on the FM's impact on leading to the onset or aggravation of other types of mental issues, because fibromyalgia including depression, anxiety, or both. Post-traumatic stress disorder. Really? Post-traumatic stress disorder. Bling bling. Alright, cool. Or bipolar disorder. There's a quote here. I have dealt with depression, anger issues, continual pain, inability to walk, think clearly, and able to do many activities I previously could do. Many people shy away from me as they don't understand the concept of non-stop pain. 41-year-old man. Many respondents, 48.3%, said that FM had a negative impact on their quality of life, reporting effects on mood, i.e. anger issues and increased irritability. Mobility, i.e. decreased ability to do household chores or previous hobbies. Fatigue and sleep issues. Respondents also reported constant pain, only 10.4%, and the presence of fibrofog, 10.4%. I have constant pain. And others out there, oh wow, lucky buggers, yeah. Another quote here, I used to go bowling, hunting, able to work out with weights, just about anything that involved the use of physical activity. I've been left with depression and a negative outlook of living an enjoyable lifestyle. 64-year-old man. Some days the fibrofog is very frustrating as my brain does not work well and my thinking is cloudy. It has completely changed my life as I cannot function at a level even close to my pre-FM levels. The FM has changed my entire life and the lives of my family. Bluntly, it sucks. 62-year-old male. More than half of the respondents, 54%, reported FM having negative impacts on their relationships with both family and friends. Individuals reported that while those close to them usually try to be supportive, often they would not understand the condition and its effects. Another quote here: "My family and friends do not understand how sick I feel because I look well. They keep saying to get out and do something, but I cannot." That's a 26-year-old male. "I rarely get out and I do feel isolated. Friends have gone and never come back. I think maybe because I can no longer manage to do what they do and I cannot keep up with them anymore. Basically, you start to feel a hindrance for people. I was engaged to be married, but this did not happen. So the fibromyalgia has really messed up my life." And that's from a 59-year-old male. And I'm sorry for that 59-year-old male. Luckily, my wife still married me. For that, I'm happy every day. "I have had to miss work as well as family time due to my fibromyalgia. It really affects you when your children want you to play with them and you can't," from a 42-year-old male. And I'll just quickly go into that. That is one of my biggest problems, is that not being able to be active enough for my family, especially my wife, because she's having to work and do housework and stuff when she gets home. But also my kids, they can see when I'm tired and that I need to relax, and they're very respectful about that, but they want me around playing a lot. And certainly when I lived in Norway, I couldn't, 3 months in bed at a time, that's better not having a father at that point. And they had to watch this, they've watched my decline. Luckily Colin is too young to remember my pre-FM years. I so hope that this cotton wool is helping with the wind noise. Anyway, sorry. Right, now, over half of respondents, 58.3%, reported FM having negative impact on their career. Only 58.3%. How is that possible? Out of this group of respondents, 19.5% report to having lost their jobs due to FM, and 17.5% having missed work from anywhere to 1 day a week to 9 months at a time. Approximately 1 in 6 of those who reported FM having a negative impact on their career also reported enrolling in the Social Security Disability Insurance Program since they could no longer physically work. Quick quote here: "I lost my job as an editor of a small daily newspaper, had to take a much less stressful job and a lot less well-paying as well. 10 years later, left work entirely on Social Security Disability." That's a 56-year-old man. Again, I apologise for the sounds. If you're hearing them, they're going on in my ear. If they're going on in my ear, then maybe you didn't hear them. Let's hope so. 10 years ago, I was healthy, highly intelligent, highly motivated, systems programmer, a rising star in a major IT company, father of 4. Okay, we've read that before. Okay, additionally, over half of respondents, 54.8%, believe FM experiences between men and women were different, and approximately 1 in 3 believe that society's expectations for men was the reason for this. Of all respondents, 15.3% reported that in society a man needs to be strong and tough it out, and 11.8% used the term breadwinner to describe the man's role in society, and noted that this was tied to the identity of a man. 3 quotes here: "Men are expected to suck it up and tough it out, and as I learned, this only makes matters worse." 65-year-old man: "It's not acceptable for a man to be sick with fibromyalgia because he most often is the breadwinner. The family suffers financially." 56-year-old man: "Identity is tied to ability to work. Fibro pain can interfere with job performance. People aren't nearly as sympathetic towards men with fibromyalgia. I've been told to suck it up and deal with the pain." 41-year-old man: "I've experienced that myself." I was going to end it there, but there's just another quick one here. Interactions with healthcare providers. Respondents were most likely to visit a family physician, 64.1%, to discuss FM, but were more likely to wait 1 to 6 months before going 42.3% rather than going right away. The respondents flagged the reason for not going to a healthcare professional right away was due to the potential of mixed diagnosis of dismissal of male FM patients, citing a general societal belief that a man needs to seem strong and tough it out. Some reported issues with the process of diagnosing by the doctors, noting that doctors would not believe that they had FM, provided a delayed diagnosis, or if there was one, i.e. ranging from a few months to 15 years, and told patients it was all in their heads. I wonder how many of you have heard that statement before. Quick quote here: I have become a heavily medicated housebound hermit. Many doctors treat me like a head case. One neurologist laughed when I told him I hurt from head to toe. 66-year-old man. And I hope that neurologist gets FM. Now that would be karma. Some respondents, 10.3%, believe there to be a stigma with men who have FM. Respondents noted that this was oftentimes considered a woman's disease and that men were considered to be weak if they believed they had it. Quote, FM has long been considered to be a woman's disease. To be diagnosed with it as a man carries a bad stigma because of this. 43-year-old man. Certainly a pattern forming, is there not? Men can't get it. It's a woman's disease. Men shouldn't get it. They're supposed to be strong. They're supposed to be the breadwinners. A few respondents, 6%, also noted that men may be less likely to discuss symptoms of SM than their woman counterparts, which may delay or inhibit a successful diagnosis. Similarly, a number of respondents, 17.9%, also believe that there were differences in how men are interactive with or were diagnosed by doctors. Men are expected to be more stoic, S-T-O-I-C, stoic, and to endure their pain. They don't talk about it and they get treated differently by doctors. 54-year-old male. I've been told men don't know what pain is like in women, or to suck it up as it's not a real thing, it's just in my head. Then everywhere in between. I have a friend, female, with fibromyalgia, and people are so much more supportive, including doctors. The only doctors that seem supportive to me is my family doc and specialist. Other doctors, ER especially, I get their eyes rolled. 36-year-old man. Again, that's very familiar to me. Luckily, the doctor that I have here, he's actually a specialist in the pain clinic in Malta. Absolutely amazing. So it's all about finding the right doctor, that's for sure. My doctor is fantastic. He's even going up against the government here to allow medical marijuana for his patients. He's taken the fight because obviously, we can't fight like that. So he is amazing. So if you live in Malta, pain clinic, Paola. Some respondents also discussed how the difference between FM and due to how men handle this. Simply due to how men and women handle their symptoms. A few, 6%, noted that women often have more resources or a better support system than men did. Some also noted that there were inherent physical differences, 6%, or non-physical differences, 9.3%, such as physiology and responses to medications that determine how women and men respond. Just quickly on that. All of my medications, all the way along, I seem to have to take 3 times the amount to get any effect. The co-Coldamol I was on 3 times 4 times a day, so 12 tablets, and it didn't, like other people I've noticed, they can take one of these tablets and be like high in the sky with no pain, toothache, gone, but with me 3, it just takes the edge off the pain, the stabbing part, and makes it a bit rounder. Is it just me? Or are there other FM people out there, sufferers out there, that also have an intolerance to medication? Be interesting to know that one. Just couple of quick quotes here. The amount of muscle mass between genders on average is different, which can impact the amount of soreness, tenderness, and general pain. 27-year-old male. We, men, are affected in different ways than women. Pain is also different for me than women. Men normally have a higher tolerance for pain, but chronic, widespread pain tends to affect men more. 48-year-old man. In terms of the format of FM health education resources, those that appealed most to respondents were online resources. Yeah, okay, right. Just a quick thing here. Impact of fibromyalgia in men. For men, FM is not only has a heavy impact on physical health, but affects mental well-being, relationships, and careers. The findings on how the perceptions of men with FM are different and ultimately more negative than the perceptions of women with the condition shed light on how health-related impacts can be more significant in men. This is supported by the severe physical and mental symptoms members of the sample reported, as well as the lack of understanding amongst those family and friends and in the workplace. The issue of men losing jobs and careers due to FM led to implications beyond the individual economic burdens. Respondents indicated that society places an unfair need for men to serve as a primary provider for families, increasing the potential for these issues to intensify the already negative mental health impacts of FM. Additionally, as more of these men enroll in SSDI benefits, Social Security Disability Insurance, I believe we read earlier, the costs on the federal budget and employee tax rates will continue rising well beyond the $143 billion spent in 2016. So it's having a hell of an effect on governments as well, which I like to hear. I live in Europe, but I think a study anywhere in the world concerning FM is a valid, important study, but B, it will be very close to the ones in where you live. Right. Okay, I do have another one here, but I'm not going to read it now. What I want to do is just talk to the men out there. Right. If you've searched for this video and you typed in fibromyalgia or men with fibromyalgia or fibromyalgia men, whatever, however you got here, it's probably, you've come across probably 90% of the videos and the websites that you've been to that have that women's stigma. It's not as bad as what it used to be. After 15 years, it's changed dramatically for me. I've seen the difference, but I still come across the websites and it angers me immensely. You are not alone. You can talk to your partners or your family, and there is enough information out there. Jesus, frickin' show them this video if need be. Only kidding. Show them, because the message has to be spread that it's not just women here, it's men. We do get depressed because we're not the breadwinners, because we're not the ones working. My wife's fantastic. She still works. She supports our family. 2 kids, pays the rent. Without her, I'd have been fucked a long time ago. And I hope that you have somebody that you can talk to. The biggest thing for me is having that ability to talk to her when I'm at my worst. She can almost see it before I'm aware of it. Go and lay down, go and relax. John, you're snapping a bit, hand me medication before I even think that I need it. She's very patient for me when it comes to sleeping at night, so I'm bouncing up and down, moving constantly, and she puts up with that somehow. How she's not asked for single beds yet, I do not know. It's all about finding the right... it's not about finding the right partner. If you're with your partner now, it's all about educating your partner, I suppose. I can't advise you on that. You know your partners, you know how to talk to them, but it's not easy, especially when you've lost your job. This is it now. Now you're fucked. You can't play with your kids anymore. You're worthless, which is how I felt a lot. I have explained before, and I have a video about suicide. I have felt at times that it was the only way out. The only way to let my family have a better life is with me out of the picture, but I may be gone and my pain's ended, but they have to live with the pain for the rest of their lives. So that's not fair either. It's about finding compromise. You know, I now do what I can around the house. I do the cleaning and shopping and all of that, and help the kids with their homework, and you know, deal with the calendars for schools and go to school meetings when I can and stuff like that. I do that part, which takes the pressure off my wife. So it's all about finding the balance. It is 2018. That, you know, you can be a stay-at-home house husband even if you didn't have fibromyalgia. So it's not as bad as what it was 15 years ago when I was being told by my friends to stop being a lazy cunt, and I apologise for the word, but that's what they said to me. You know, to get up and get out, and, you know, stop laying in bed. And, you know, my friends that at the time who said that to me can rot in hell. Here I am 15 years later, and they were saying it's all an act, so that I can just, you know, be at home a little bit. Well, 15 years later, the pain's as bad as it's ever been. My ability to earn anything has gone, and it fucking hurts. It still hurts, but I am blessed to have 2 great kids and to be able to look after them and to keep the house going. So I'm doing that part now. That's my role. My role has changed, and it has to. If you're single and a man, you need to find some support out there. There are other men. There are forums. Jesus, I was even thinking the other day, maybe I'll do a forum for men. Because I don't think there's enough out there. The only problem is that we don't talk to ourselves. You know, if I met another man at a fibromyalgia meeting, I don't think him and I would be talking, because, you know, men keep it in, unfortunately. But at least if I started a forum, I suppose, with the wives who don't have it but their partners do, maybe on the forum and asking questions and whatnot, which I think would be a great thing. I want to talk about it. I want everybody to know. I want the stigma to be removed, as I think it should be. Right, okay. Been talking for far too long. I don't know what it is. Take care of yourselves. Please. You're not alone. I know it sucks. I know it sucks with that diagnosis, but life gets better. 15 years on, pain hasn't changed that much, but my quality of life has. Yours can too. Alright, take care. Bye-bye.